The monkey represents the condition of man before the rational soul entered into his constitution. Therefore it typifies the irrational man. By some the monkey is looked upon as a species not ensouled by the spiritual hierarchies, by others as a fallen state wherein man has been deprived of his divine nature through degeneracy. The ancients, though evolutionists, did not trace man's ascent through the monkey. The monkey they considered as having separated itself from the main stem of progress. The monkey was occasionally employed as a symbol of learning. Cynocephalus, the dog-headed ape, was the Egyptian hieroglyphic symbol of writing, and was closely associated with Thoth. Cynocephalus is symbolic of the moon and Thoth of the planet Mercury. Because of the ancient belief that the moon followed Mercury about the heavens, the dog-ape was described as the faithful companion of Thoth. The dog, because of its faithfulness, denotes the relationship which should exist between disciple and master, or between the initiate and his god. The shepherd dog was a type of the priestcraft. The dog's ability to sense and follow unseen persons for miles symbolized the transcendental power by which the philosopher follows the thread of truth through the labyrinth of earthly error. The dog is also the symbol of Mercury. The dog star, Sirius or Sothis, was sacred to the Egyptians because it presaged the annual inundations of the Nile. As a beast of burden, the horse was the symbol of a body of man forced to sustain the weight of his spiritual constitution. Conversely, it also typified the spiritual nature of man forced to maintain the burden of the material personality. Chiron, the centaur, mentor of Achilles, represents the primitive creation which was the progenitor and instructor of mankind, as described by Berosus. The winged horse and the magic carpet both symbolize the secret doctrine and the spiritualized body of man. The wooden horse of Troy, secreting an army for the capture of the city, represents man's body concealing within it those infinite potentialities which will later come forth and conquer his environment. Again, like Noah's Ark, it represents the spiritual nature of man as containing a host of latent potentialities which subsequently become active. The siege of Troy is a symbolic account of the abduction of the human soul Helena by the personality Paris and its final redemption, through persevering struggle, by the secret doctrine, the Greek army under the command of Agamemnon. Insert. Aes and the Harpies. From Virgil's Ide. Dryden's translation. Among the mythological creatures of the mysteries were the Harpies, projections into material substance of beings existing in the invisible world of nature. They were described the Greeks as being composite, with the heads of maidens and the bodies of birds. The wings of the Harpies were composed of metal and their flight was accompanied by a terrible clanging noise. During his wanderings, Aes, the Trojan hero, landed on the island of the Harpies, where he and his followers vainly battled with these monsters. One of the Harpies perched upon a cliff, and there prophesied to Ide that his attack upon them would bring dire calamity to the Trojans. Continued. Flowers, plants, fruits, and trees. The yoni and phallus were worshipped by nearly all ancient peoples as appropriate symbols of God's creative power. The Garden of Eden, the Ark, the Gate of the Temple, the Veil of the Mysteries, the Vesica Piscis or oval nimbus, and the Holy Grail are important yonic symbols. The pyramid, the obelisk, the cone, the candle, the tower, the Celtic monolith, the spire, the campanile, the maypole, and the sacred spear are symbolic of the phallus. In treating the subject of priapic worship, too many modern authors judge pagan standards by their own and wallow in the mire of self-created vulgarity. The Eleusinian Mysteries, the greatest of all the ancient secret societies, established one of the highest known standards of morality and ethics, and those criticizing their use of phallic symbols should ponder the trenchant words of King Edward III, Honi soit qui mal y pense. The obscene rites practiced by the later Bacchanalia and Dionysia were no more representative of the standards of purity originally upheld by the mysteries than the orgies occasionally occurring among the adherents of Christianity till the 18th century were representative of primitive Christianity. Sir William Hamilton, British minister at the court of Naples, declares that in 1780, Acernia, a community of Christians in Italy, worshipped with phallic ceremonies the pagan god Priapus under the name of Saint Cosmo. See 2 Essays on the Worship of Priapus, by Richard Payne Knight. Father, Mother, and Child constitute the natural trinity. The mysteries glorified the home as a supreme institution consisting of this trinity functioning as a unit. Pythagoras likened the universe to the family, declaring that as the supreme fire of the universe was in the midst of its heavenly bodies, so, by analogy, the supreme fire of the world was upon its hearthstones. The Pythagorean and other schools of philosophy conceived the one divine nature of God to manifest itself in the threefold aspect of Father, Mother, and Child. These three constituted the divine family, whose dwelling place is creation and whose natural and peculiar symbol is the 47th problem of Euclid. God the Father is spirit, God the Mother is matter, and God the Child, the product of the two, represents the sum of living things born out of and constituting nature. The seed of spirit is sown in the womb of matter, and by an immaculate pure conception the progeny is brought into being. Is not this the true mystery of the Madonna holding the holy babe in her arms? Who dares to say that such symbolism isn't proper? The mystery of life is the supreme mystery, revealed in all of its divine dignity and glorified as nature's perfect achievement by the initiated sages and seers of all ages. The prudery of today, however, declares this same mystery to be unfit for the consideration of holy-minded people. Contrary to the dictates of reason, a standard has been established which affirms that innocence bred of ignorance is more to be desired than virtue born of knowledge. Eventually, however, man will learn that he need never be ashamed of truth. Until he does learn this, he is false to his God, to his world, and to himself. In this respect, Christianity has woefully failed in its mission. While declaring man's body to be the living temple of the living God, in the same breath it asserts the substances and functions of this temple to be unclean and their study defiling to the sensitive sentiments of the righteous. By this unwholesome attitude, man's body, the house of God, is degraded and defamed. Yet the cross itself is the oldest of phallic emblems, and the lozenge-shaped windows of cathedrals are proof that Ionic symbols have survived the destruction of the pagan mysteries. The very structure of the Church itself is permeated with phallicism. Remove from the Christian Church all emblems of priapic origin and nothing is left, for even the earth upon which it stands was, because of its fertility, the first Ionic symbol. As the presence of these emblems of the generative processes is either unknown or unheeded by the majority, the irony of the situation is not generally appreciated. Only those conversant with the secret language of antiquity are capable of understanding the divine significance of these emblems. Flowers were chosen as symbols for many reasons. The great variety of flora made it possible to find some plant or flower which would be a suitable figure for nearly any abstract quality or condition. A plant might be chosen because of some myth connected with its origin, as the stories of Daphne and Narcissus. Because of the peculiar environment in which it thrived, as the orchid and the fungus. Because of its significant shape, as the passion flower and the Easter lily. Because of its brilliance or fragrance, as the verbena and the sweet lavender. Because it preserved its form indefinitely, as the everlasting flower. Because of unusual characteristics as the sunflower and heliotrope, which have long been sacred because of their affinity for the sun. The plant might also be considered worthy of veneration because from its crushed leaves, petals, stalks, or roots could be extracted healing unctions, essences, or drugs affecting the nature and intelligence of human beings, such as the poppy and the ancient herbs of prophecy. The plant might also be regarded as efficacious in the cure of many diseases because its fruit, leaves, petals, or roots bore resemblance in shape or color to parts or organs of the human body. For example, the distilled juices of certain species of ferns, also the hairy moss growing upon oaks, and the thistledown were said to have the power of growing hair. The dentaria, which resembles a tooth in shape, was said to cure the toothache. And the Palma Christi plant, because of its shape, cured all afflictions of the hands. The blossom is really the reproductive system of the plant and is therefore singularly appropriate as a symbol of sexual purity, an absolute requisite of the ancient mysteries. Thus the flower signifies this ideal of beauty and regeneration which must ultimately take the place of lust and degeneracy. Of all symbolic flowers the locust blossom of India and Egypt and the rose of the Rosicrucians are the most important. In their symbolism these two flowers are considered identical. The esoteric doctrines for which the Eastern lotus stands have been perpetuated in modern Europe under the form of the rose.